Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out.
Let's do that.
Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Hey, what's happening? How you been, friend? Welcome back to another Win Wednesday evening. This is SWIM. It's the acronym for Say What You Mean. I am Travis Bridges, and this is how we do it. We come in on Wednesday night and we just talk. You know, this live stream has come a long ways. You know, I started out with my saxophone during the COVID concert series, and I was playing my heart out to all my family and friends and some of the new people that I met along the way. And after playing the sax, I figured I need to stop that a little bit. I would then get on and, just start talking and just talking to people. It's therapy for me. I'm in therapy right now. Yes, I'm not embarrassed to admit it. I'm in therapy with a therapist, as well as, self-therapy. My homework is to communicate. So Kimberly is in the house and Christine is with me. Thank y'all so much and happy holidays to you. Here's hoping you're enjoying your family. I do have a guest and I'm not going to take a break. As soon as I finish with my intro, I'm going to go straight to the phone. I promise I'm not going to be with y'all long at all. Before the bottom of the hour, we're going to be gone because I'm still in a bit of a transition and I'm just doing what I said I would do, and that's to make sure that I'm here on Wednesday. Don't have heavy content, but I'm here and I'm talking about the concept of what it is I do. Well, what is it that you do, sir? Well, I'm just relying on some of my old radio skills to come on this live stream. Back in the day, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no YouTube. There was none of that. If you were not hired by a radio station, you didn't get to do any kind of radio whatsoever. But thanks to technology, everybody is a DJ, everybody is a talk show host, everybody's got some kind of platform and they're doing something, and I really like it that way. I used to listen to satellite radio in my vehicle, and I still do. And I guess I've had my spill of, radio as we know it, frequency modulation, FM radio, and there's now digital radio too that has a lot of great channels, so much to choose from. So if somebody is listening to you on YouTube or any other major platform, you must really be somebody. So I do have a couple people, so maybe I'm somebody too. But anyway, the gist of what I'm doing is just bringing awareness to how we listen, how we hear, how we pay attention to what it is we're listening to, and the importance of not just talking, but listening as well. It's a challenge for many people, and I'll start with myself. There's the saying that goes like this: people listen not to hear, but they listen for that opportunity to respond. It's very difficult to do. We have to contend with all three parts of ourselves. Not that we are crazy or anything like that, but we are body, mind, and soul. And all three of those sometimes are not always clicking on the same cylinders. Sometimes our heart will tell us something, our mind will tell us something else, but our mouth will actually say something totally different from what our heart is feeling, our mind is thinking, and before you know it, we are what we call, having our foot in our mouths. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to let you go. No, I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to get back on with my caller. And my caller should be there already. Caller, are you with me?
I am here.
Okay, I'm hoping you can do a little bit better than that. I've got your volume loud, and we're going to get where we're going to get. Either way, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you? Is it better now? The volume better?
Yeah, a whole lot better. Thank you. I'm grateful and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking this last minute request and coming on with me. You know enough about my live stream. I usually don't mention names, so no one will know who you are unless they recognize your voice. And I do that on purpose. I really like focusing on the message and not necessarily the messenger. And I have a couple of questions I want to ask you specific and particular. But before I do that, I want to ask you about your holiday season. How is it going? Do you really get into the holidays heavy, light, or not at all? Do you do a lot of shopping? Do you get aggravated with the traffic? Do you feel Christmas in the air?
I definitely feel Christmas in the air. I do get aggravated with the traffic because I had two minor incidents just before I talked to you. So traffic does pick up during the holiday. Everybody rushing to get to where they want to go. But I love this season because I just think it changes people throughout the year. People are in more of a joyful, festive holiday, and they love to buy gifts, even though that's not what it's all about. But nevertheless, I try to place myself within it, and yes, I enjoy it and love every minute of it.
Okay. I heard you talk about people being in a joyous, season, and that is true. You can see it, in the eyes of people, in kids, and definitely when you go in the stores, you can't help but, hear the music and see the decoration. But there's another thing that happens during the season. One of my friends told me just the other day that she went to a gas station and there was some type of device that people are using. They cloned her debit card and took all of her money. And, people are not paying attention, and there are people out there looking for people who are, just not paying attention. So, yeah, there's joy in the air, but there are also people who are roaming to and fro, seeing who they can devour.
Well, unfortunately, that happens in every stance of life. Because it is a joyous time of the year, people are very vulnerable because people let down their guards. Because they want to feel the spirit of Christmas, that they want to feel the happiness. Unfortunately, I do want to take my comment back because after COVID, well, even before COVID, but especially now, people are more prone to a little bit of sadness at this time of year because people have lost a lot of people over the years, and Christmas can be a time, and I just want to share with your listeners as well as you, be on the lookout for people that can try to take advantage of you and, take advantage of maybe some of your vulnerability. But at the same time, because it is a joyful season, we also have to spread that joy and listen, because I have found in the last 2 weeks, I have did more encouraging people who are saddened by the loss of a loved one during this season than I have in a long time. And that's because I was listening and picking up on clues. I looked at their eyes. I felt, looking at their body language, and I noticed that people had that sensitivity of losing a loved one. So because I'm full of that joy, because obviously it's the holiday season, I was able to share it. So that's one reason why I choose to spread the love and spread the joy, because it can be used now to help someone else who maybe life is experiencing a little sadness. So I love this season because I get a chance to not only give, monetarily or give gifts, but you also can give love, a smile, a joy, opportunity. So it's just so much that you can give that you can take advantage of and not feel depressed or lonely or sad. So.
Well, I'll go ahead and speak, for myself on that note. Before I come on my live stream, I have to deal with life just like everyone else. Of course, when the time ticks down and I come on and say good evening and welcome, I have to put as much of that aside as possible. But, we all go through that. But I will just say, in support of what you're saying, we still have to be strong. We have to continue to move on. It's okay. We have to cry if we need to cry. And, we have those moments. But we also have to really stay focused and keep moving. We can't let, bad times keep us in a hole, whether it's Christmas time or whatever time. We have to remember to keep going. And those that, transition before us, yes, we miss them. Trust me, I've had my moments. But I refuse to be down and stay down. So I'm 100% in support of everything you're saying in terms of being alert and being aware and, being strong for those that may not be as strong as we are during the season. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what I want to get into in this very short time that we have is the importance of communication. Somewhere in my mind, I want to tell you a story. I had a friend once. I wanted to go to law school, and I had it all figured out. I had a couple of experiences that said, I want to get into the legal system because I want to help people. There are people that don't have representation for different reasons. They can't afford it, and they just don't know enough about the law to be taken advantage by people who do know the law. So I remember way back when I thought, I'm going to get in this. And I actually went to school and I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I was on my way. I was heading to law school, but I had some other life experiences that caused me to change that. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go. Sometimes I think about it. But I remember when I was talking to another lawyer friend, and I laid it out to her as to why I wanted to go and be an attorney and, to speak and talk and represent people in cases. And I told her, it's just logic. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Good is good and bad is bad. When you hear information and you have evidence, you don't have to be a genius to know right from wrong. We're born with that. And I just thought it was that simple. And I can remember the look in her face. I remember the tone of her voice. She told me, yeah, in a perfect world, that would be good. But people don't care about that. There are people who will fight you on the smallest and the simplest things. And the law is different. The law and the truth is not the same. And I remember saying that. And in my mind, as a youngster, of course, I'm thinking, yeah, what she's saying may be true, but still, black is black and white is white. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If you lay it all out, if you're right, then you win. If you're wrong, then you lose. But it really is not like that. The law is a very unique system that has rules in place that are necessary, procedures that are necessary, that the average person without representation will not know and will not know how to even defend themselves. That's why I've seen many cases where people without proper representation or representation at all lose in situations because of their lack of knowledge, which goes to one of my favorite scriptures. We perish for lack of knowledge. And that goes, all the way around, whether it's in the courtroom or in your own house. There's certain things, if you don't know, your family is going to suffer. Your household is going to suffer. So it just goes without saying. But I want to talk to you about the importance of communication. Why is it that we know the importance of communication, but we still don't communicate thoroughly? Give me your gist on that, your take on that.
Personally, first of all, we have to understand what communication is, because communication comes in many forms. People are from different backgrounds, different culture, different unique experiences that they have encountered over the years, different origins. those are all the things that go on in people's lives. So when we say the word communication, we have to understand the other person that we were trying to communicate with. Because when I say, what's that word they used to use? They call the woman, she's a fox. If I'm communicating and say, oh, I saw a bad fox. Back in the day, they used to call a woman a fox. we all
Foxy Mama, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we all remember there was a car, the Maverick Fox. There was a car. So when I say the word fox, are you talking about the animal, the woman, or the car? And God knows what fox could mean to Gen X or the millennials. They may have another term for that word now. So first of all, when we're trying to communicate, we have to understand who we're communicating to. We have to read the audience. If we're in multiple, if we're in a setting with multiple people in it, or if it's one-on-one, where's this person's frame of mind? What's on their mind? What are they thinking about? And what are you trying to say? Because sometimes people want to put it on the hearer, but sometimes communication is on the speaker. So you have to be wise at how you communicate. So I think the first rule of thumb is to understand what it is you're trying to communicate and make sure you deliver the message or you deliver the thought with the intent that the other person can understand you. And one of the best ways to make sure you're on the same wavelength is to pause for a moment and ask that person, are you with me? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And then take the time to listen to them and let them give you some feedback. So if you hear what I'm saying, share with me what you think about what I'm saying at that point in time. And if they can respond back to you and pretty much deliver back to you somewhat where you're trying to go, you know you're on the same path. But if they're way over in left field or their mind is somewhere else, you're going to see. But most people don't take the time to go back over what they're trying to say and review it with the listener to make sure they're understanding. It's almost like what a good teacher a long time ago, she would explain to you what the problem is, and then at the end of the week, she's going to give you a test to test you. Well, we can't test our communication, a person that you're standing there having a conversation with. So what you have to do is take the time and make sure that person is on the same page with you by asking maybe a series of questions, or ask them, are you with me? Are you following me? Those are little buzzwords that will help you to identify before you just go on and on and on, and you look up and that person like, you lost me like 20 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. So I think to identify what communication is and what it is you're trying to communicate, I think that is the beginning of helping you to not get frustrated. Because most people who are not communicators, they get frustrated with their audience or their listener. And sometimes it's not on the listener, it's on the communicator.
Okay. I appreciate that. That's good input. I've definitely heard a variation of that at some point in time, and you're all on point with all of that. So, I have nothing, no comments to say because I get it all. But I want to ask you about logic and reasoning. How important is it, even if you repeat the same thing, if someone else says, okay, yeah, I'm hearing you, I get you, or they are on the same page? How important is logic and reasoning? And before you answer that, do you believe in logic? That's a yes or no question. If you can say yes or no, then that's what I want to hear. If you can't, then I understand. Do you believe in logic? Yes or no?
I have to answer that with two answers, yes and no, because there are times when logic needs to be tossed out the window, and there's times you can reasonably make a logical conversation and get a person to follow through with what you're saying. But there's a time that logic has no place in a conversation. If you're in an intense situation where you need some solid answers, or you need concrete proof of something, it's like you went back to that courtroom scene. You can't take logic before a judge, because a judge is going to toss it out. And, oh, you come in here with these logical thoughts. Do you have proof? Are you a witness? Do you have what to show me that this actually happened? And you say, well, you start speaking from a logical standpoint, that will throw the case out.
Okay, I want to jump in. On that. When I say logic brings with it proof and evidence. If I say logic, to me is where there's a clear-cut explanation for any kind of confusion. That's my homemade definition. If there's an official definition for logic, then I'm okay to hear it. But when I say logic, I'm talking about reasoning beyond questioning.
Okay, now let's do this. Someone identify and look up what the definition of logic means right now. Do you have the ability to do that?
I do. Hold on a second.
Let's start with that first.
Let's do that. Hey Siri, what is the definition of logic? Okay, according to the dictionary, reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. Experience is a better guide to this than deductive logic. The logic of argument is faulty. He explains his move with simple logic. Then the second definition says a particular system. Hang on, I'm about to lose my system here. I think the second definition says a particular system or codification of the principles of proof and inference. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to tell you what I get out of that. Reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. So based on that, it's what I thought it was, in that logic is reasoning with proof and evidence. It says here principles of validity. If something is logic, that means it's valid. The proof is there, the evidence is there. So when you're presenting logic, you're presenting proof, you're presenting validity, you're presenting facts. So I want you to continue with what you're saying. And now, I don't know, do I need another definition for logic?
No, here's the reason why I question that is because that has always been debatable. Because people will ask you, with anything, just like when you do case studies, who did you study to get this case from? When you get proof, you ask to go see who was the source. So sometimes it can say it's validated, but who is it validated by? Who was the proof reader? So that still is a form of, it's questionable. So I have always looked at logic as a form of, like you said, validation, a form of reasoning and proof, but who is doing the proofing?
Okay, let me answer that. I have this, again, I create my own stuff, and I always say I don't want anyone to prove me wrong, but if they do, then that's the day that I learn something from what it is that I may have perceived in a different way. But there's something called points of references and principles. Principles and points of references. There are things that have been established in society. You know, it's if we're standing in front of a mirror and we raise our right hand and we raise our left hand, it has been established in society that the right is a certain direction and left is a certain direction, up is a certain direction, so is down. So those are things that are already established. So when you say who is doing the reasoning or who's calling it that, it's kind of sort of, unless someone decides to challenge, okay, right is the other side. But from the time I was in Head Start, I remember being taught my left shoe and my right shoe. And up until this very point, I don't recall anyone challenging that, but people will challenge things that are already established. So to answer your question, when you say who is determining what's considered logic, it's kind of sort of already been determined. There are principles that are in place before any of us were even here. There's certain summer, winter, spring, and fall comes no matter what, whether we're here or not. And as far as we can recall, summer, winter, spring, and fall has been coming in that order, as far as we know. So logic and principles are pretty much established by society and nature.
You gave some very good ones, and you gave some very basic principles, because up is up and down is down. That's logical. Left is left and right is right. Those are logical things. That's why I gave you the answer yes and no. But with the world we live in now, when you get over to my answer was double fold like that, and it sounded like it could have been offbeat, because there are times when I'm communicating with people, we're not talking about basic principles at the four seasons, left and right, up and down, reflection in a mirror. A lot of times people debate over things that cannot be proven or have no logical reasoning to them, or they don't have that deduction where, especially in the sciences or in the atmosphere, when people ask those hard questions, like I got a question the other day answered to me. I don't have questions or no logic for them when people ask you things about tough questions. Why did this child die? Why did some people do this and some people don't? Those are the ones that, when I'm saying there is no logical explanation for them. There are some things in life logic cannot define. So some things is left to one day only God himself will be able to deliver the answer for them. So that's the reason why I gave you that double fold answer, because I get sometimes people that cross my path that will do that. And sometimes they're looking for an argument, and sometimes they're searching for the truth. They really are searching. And usually if I'm communicating with the person like that and I see that they are searching, I just try and simply say, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know. But if I see that they're just trying to create a sense of debate and argumentary, then I don't try to reason. The Bible always tell you too that you cannot, do not answer a fool in his folly. Because sometimes people just doing things foolishly or vain questioning. So that's why I said that about logic. But you're absolutely right with principles like 1 plus 1 or up and down, left and right. Those are basic logical things that can be proven and have been verified. So I agree with those simple basic truths of that.
Well, I'm going to speak for myself and for the purpose of my live stream. My live stream is to bring awareness to exactly that. Not ever that I can recall, not now or in the future, am I ever going to raise a question that's not going to have logic. That's why I like to say I don't want to be proven wrong, but if someone has information for me, that's the day that I learn something, because I like to think of myself as one who I like logic. I believe in logic. I appreciate logic. You gave some examples of things that nobody knows because there are certain things we just can't figure out. And that's not what I'm talking about at all. When I talk about logic and reasoning, I'm talking about things that are as plain as the nose on your face that I will try to present in any situation and any case. And the reason I was asking you about it was because I wanted to get your feedback when logic has been presented and reasoning has been presented. And then there's, I guess a group of select people who refuse to accept logic and or reasoning for whatever reason. And I think if you're going to find resolve, particularly when there's conflict, you have to start with the basics of logic and reasoning. And you can't run everything through logic and reasoning, but I think it is a good foundation if you're trying to get to the bottom of something. And I think that's why courts exist, and that's why communication is effective if people are willing to listen and reason and consider logic. So I wanted to ask you about that, not for those cases that are unprovable or things that only God would know. Why is gravity, gravity? I don't know why things don't. I don't have the answers to that. And that's not what I'm talking about at all. You can put something in front of someone that decides they're not going to listen or don't want to or not going to accept something. And that's just what you're going to get. But I get your point. Not everything can be logically reasoned, but most things are. And those are the things I'm talking about. And those are the things that this live stream swim. Say what you mean and mean what you say based on the ability to reason and the ability to.
And back to your question again, too, with people, the beauty of one of the most powerful things God gave us is free will. And you can have the color blue right in front of people, but if they make a decision that they're not going to believe that's blue, even though logically it has been proven that that color is blue, the power of choice becomes stronger than logic and reason. That is one of the most powerful things God gave to a human being, a spirit being, I should say. What he put inside of Adam, because we all come from Adam and Eve, what he put inside of Adam, that power of free choice, is your answer. If I choose not to believe, even though I in my mind know I'm wrong, but if I make up in my mind that I'm not going to believe that, there is nothing that can cross the line. That's why that old saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a mind can become a very dangerous place, because with that same free choice, people live on one side of the stream versus the other. And it's all about the freedom of choice. You live and die by the choices you make. Even though presentation can be right in front of you, proof can be right in front of you, but if your mind tells you that's not what it is, there's nothing you can do to change the human, the free will of that person.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that's why the law exists, and that's why there's police forces, and there are maybe even bullies in some cases, because sometimes people make up their mind they're not going to do something, and then sometimes powerful forces can and will force people to do things. But I get your point, and we could run this in the ground all day and night. But I heard a lot of things you said, and I appreciate your input. But I do want to close. I'll give you the last word, but I want to make my closing now, in that I believe logic is indeed evidence and information that is related to validity. So if someone is speaking and they're talking logically, they're talking with things that have already been determined, proven, accepted, tried, and not even denied in society in terms of things that are logical. And I think the ability to reason, the Bible even talks about reasoning, And it's hard sometimes when the mind is, made up into a certain way, a certain place. People don't want to listen or accept certain things for whatever reason. But I'm going to speak for myself, as it relates to logic, things that are factual with proof and evidence, things that really cannot be denied after being presented. Of course, you can always say no if you're going to be stubborn, or if you just choose not to believe, and that's what you were talking about. But reasoning and logic is important to communication. And I'm a firm believer, and I want to ask you this, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to let you make the closing statement. I am a firm believer that there is an answer to every question, and there is a solution to every problem. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, I had no idea how this was going to go, and I'm already 5 minutes over the time that I thought I would be here. But I didn't put a time on it, just an estimation of time. But I can't thank you. This has been good. I didn't know what it would be like with you and me, and I'm glad you came on with me. And you were nowhere near as bad as I thought you were going to be. So thank you.
Oh, Jesus. Now, was that by reason or logic?
No, I was just being sarcastic. It was neither. I was just being funny.
Okay.
But I do want you to make the closing statement on the importance of communication as it relates to reasoning and logic, and in communication as it relates to reaching resolve.
Well, I believe that communication is an art to communication. And just like we do with anything in life, the more you understand it, the better it helps you to be relatable. So if you're trying to communicate, and of course if you live in this world, we need to communicate, because without communication, we simply don't need to belong anywhere. But with communication, there comes a power to help support people. And as you communicate, think about the other person. Give them an opportunity to understand what it is you're trying to communicate, and then vice versa. If someone is trying to communicate to you, open yourself up and hear what they have to say, and make sure you understand them, because communication works both ways, through speaking and listening. And at the same time, as you stated, when you know there are principles that guide logical things that have been proven, even though you may not understand them, just let a person know right now, I may not be following you, but let me get back with you, and take the time and go and research it, look it up, because we're without excuse when we cannot find or don't resolve the answers to situations now, because we can go and get the help we need. And if we can't find the help, you can always go to the greatest source of them all. The Bible teaches us, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who will give liberally and never turn him away. So wisdom comes from our Heavenly Father, and He's there to answer and support you through any communication you may have, or lack of communication you may have. And I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate being on your live stream, and thank you for your listeners that are listening. And I hope I was able to communicate some truths to them today. God bless you. Love you.
You got it. Thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. And there you have it. Another guest on SWIM, SWIM. That is the acronym for Say What You Mean. I really appreciate that caller, because we did get a lot said, and a lot was actually listened to by me. I can't speak for her, but I believe she did hear some of the things I said. And I just want to reiterate again, I said I was going to give her the last word. I'm just going to close one more time. Basic principles and points of references are very important to use if you're trying to present anything to anyone. Reasoning, I do believe, is a very strong part of logic, and logic is also a very strong part of reasoning. Listening and hearing, paying attention, and being okay with what it is we discover, because you can't fight logic. Left has already been established is the opposite of right. And if, there's someone to argue, I'll listen. But it's kind of sort of been established, and you have to kind of be okay with that, even if it's new information. We learn and we grow, and I'm the first one that's open for learning something new again. I don't want to be proven wrong, because I try to live based on what I know to be right and best and truthful. But if someone can show me something that gives me some insight on something that I need to grow into or grow from, I'm 100% open for it. So with that being said, here's hoping you're enjoying your holiday season with your family, with your friends, with your jobs and everything. Take care. Be careful out there. And remember, all the shopping, all the Santa Clauses and the reindeers and the snowmans and the jingle bells and all of that. Remember, the true reason of the season is we're celebrating the birth of the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. That is the birth of Jesus Christ himself. So remember, Jesus is the reason for the season. So as you go on with your Santa Clauses and your gifts and your eggnog, enjoy yourself, but remember the reason for the season. With that being said, I'm going to let y'all go. I'll be seeing you soon. Got some wonderful things on the way. I'm excited. Thank you for all your support, Christine, Kimberly, Anthony, and everybody else that is listening right now and that will tune in a little bit later. I promise you, what you're seeing right now is just the iceberg. I've got some wonderful things on the way. Till the next time, take good care of yourself. Find someone you need to say I love you to. Don't just say it. Show it and mean it. Good night.
SWYM. Say what you mean. As much as this information is designed to bring awareness to how we listen, hear, and process, it is also a form of therapy. The little person inside of all of us needs to be heard. As adults, even listening to ourselves is a form of healing, strengthening, and growth. It's okay to speak, talk, express yourself, and be heard, even if you're the only listener. If our testimony does anything at all for anyone else, that makes the continued effort worth the time. Get the words out. You'll feel better, and that's a promise. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Sometimes it seems like all the good times are gone. But you got to keep on searching. You got to keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. For example, take me standing right here today. I would not be here with you if I believed the things that the people say. You got to keep on searching. Keep on searching. Keep it on the cool side. Keep it on the cool side. Keep on